Good evening, darlings and deviants. My name is Lucy, and I'm just a little loony. We're talking about set booster exclusive commander cards again. This is part of a series. Go start from the beginning here if you don't know what I'm talking about. Today, we're on Magic's original home plane of Dominaria, with the sets Dominaria United and Brothers War. Some of these set booster exclusive commander cards are extremely powerful and some are less so. There's no shame in performance issues, happens to all of us. So, without further ado, let's start the show. The Phyrexian invasion is in full swing with Dominaria United. Sheldred is making moves and no one knows who to trust. But luckily, you can trust me when I say these cards are pretty cool. First off is Rosnakht, Heir of Rogueport. She's 1 red for a 0/1 legendary kobold warrior with Battlecry, which pairs well with her heroic ability. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Rosie, Heir of Rogueport, create a 0/1 red kobold creature token named Kobolds of Carekeep. Rosie is an interesting commander, making tokens when you target her with spells, which would be great if we didn't already have Zada Hedron Grinder. While Zada can make your spells copy all of your creatures, Rosie here can make tokens for each spell, which is better consistency but less exciting overall. They perform similar roles, but they're both really great in each other's deck. Be sure not to separate them, they're really good friends. Activated Sleeper is 2 and a black for a 0/0 Phyrexian Shapeshifter with Flash, and you may have Activated Sleeper enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature in a graveyard. Oh wait, that's awesome! A cheap grave copying effect that... oh wait, there's more text here. That was put there from the battlefield this turn, except it's a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. Well, that card was almost really super cool. It's not bad at all. Copying a big monster that the whole table just worked to kill is very great. It's just possible to be dead in your hand for a while, so be careful or, come prepared to kill all of the things with plenty of spot removal. You're in black, so that should have been in your starter kit along with a picture of Josh Lee Kwai captioned full send. If you didn't get that, if you didn't hear that from me. Next up is a super solid Merfolk Lord? Can we call these things lords if they don't buff those creatures? Emperor Mihail II is 1 and 2 blue for a 3/3 legendary Merfolk noble with 3 abilities. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast Merfolk spells from the top of your library, and whenever you cast a Merfolk spell, you may pay 1 generic mana. If you do, create a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token. Emperor Mihail II is certainly an extremely great Merfolk helper? Legal told me I can't really call him a lord, but I mean, it's basically a lord. Whatever. It's good. Play it in Merfolk decks. The next card is a little bit confusing. The Mana Rig is 3 mana for a legendary artifact that lets you make a tapped Power Stone token whenever you cast a multicolored spell. Then for XXX and tap, you get to look at the top X cards of your library and put up to 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So this card gives you a benefit for casting multicolored spells by giving you an artifact that can't be used for non-artifact things, most of which don't have colors in them. And that final ability is very, very expensive. So you want to do the multicolored casting thing so you get the mana rocks to be able to play the big expensive ability, but the Power Stones can't help you cast the multicolored spells. This card does a lot of good things, but I have no idea what to do with it. If you've managed to crack this card, please comment down below and let me know. I'd love to have this card be good, but I can never really find a spot for it anywhere. Time to do the worm with Baru Wurmspeaker. For 2 and 2 green, you get a 3/3 legendary human druid. He gives your worms +2/+2 and trample, and he has the ability to make 4/4 worms for 8 mana. That would be gods awful if it didn't cost X less to activate, where X is the greatest power among worms you control. If you're just using him to make tokens, the first token is very expensive, but future worms only cost 2 mana. So, I'll be very real. In the initial draft of this script, I was going to talk about how all the worms that are in mono green are really bad, and why would you build a deck like this, but some of these worms slap, and Worm Coil Engine is, shockingly, a worm. So I may need to give this one a second look. Next up is Historian's Boon. For 3 and a white, you get an enchantment that reads, whenever Historian's Boon or another non-token enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. And whenever the final chapter ability of a saga you control triggers, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. Sagas are a very odd card type as, without any shenanigans, they're permanents that will eventually go away after giving you a few sets of benefits. Historian's Boon giving you a benefit each time that happens is fantastic, and getting that 1/1 whenever any enchantment comes into play is just icing on the cake. I don't think it's wonderful on its own or in an enchantment deck specifically. I think you really should be playing Sagas if you're playing this card as well, but if you are playing Sagas, this card is an instant include. Right alongside the mana rig, Robaran Mercenaries feels like a card that I think should be very, very good, but it just isn't. It's 3 and a white for a 3/4 human mercenary with vigilance, and it has all of the activated abilities of legendary creatures you control. There's a lot of powerful legendaries with really great activated abilities, but a 4 mana 3/4 copying them is fragile and kind of expensive. It doesn't have haste on its own. It doesn't get like keyword abilities. It's on its own. A 4 mana 3/4 is just kind of weak, and if you don't have a board already built, that's all it is. Like with the mana rig, if you've broken this card, please let me know. I'd love to see this card with full power. Finally, we have easily the most powerful card in this mini set. Greensleeves and Maro, Sorcerer. For 3 and 2 green, you get a legendary elemental with protection from planeswalkers and wizards? Cool with me. And star power and toughness. I think they're a star too, but what's that mean gameplay wise? Well, they have power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. And since you're in green, that's going to be a lot. It's going to be a very, very, very large number. Oh, and if you wanted more reason to want to play lands, Greensleeves has landfall. Yes, this was actually eroded. You can go check it. For each land that comes into play under your control, you make a 3/3 Badger creature token. It's easy to see why Greensleeves is the most expensive card in this set. It's far and away the best one. It's a threat that just brings more and more friends. Wait, wrong time travel set. Brothers War depicts the titular war between Urza and Mishra, but they don't get any cards here. Well, they technically do, but I'll get to it when I get to it. Sardian Avenger is 1 and a red for a 1/1 Goblin Warrior with First Strike and Trample, and whenever Sardian Avenger attacks, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts your opponents control, and whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, Sardian Avenger deals 1 damage to that player. Do you hate your friend's treasure deck? What about that deck that tries to combo off by sacrificing a bunch of artifacts? Put this little fella into your red decks and watch them pick up their cards, then pick up their playmat, then try to pick up their tiers. Honestly, I don't see this in near enough red decks just playing this guy. I see him in goblin decks all the time, but there's so many more decks he could go in. Give him a shot. Staff of Titania is too generic for an artifact equipment with equipped creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of forests you control, and whenever equipped creature attacks, create a Dryad Arbor token. If you don't remember, that is a 1/1 green forest Dryad land creature token that's one heck of a mouthful. It equips for 3, but honestly, that's irrelevant, because if you attack with this, you're making lands. The art and abilities may suggest that you need to play this in a mono green deck, but with that extremely useful token generation and a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, it lets you turn all of your lands into forests. So if you're playing green at all, definitely give this a shot, or play it in every deck. It'd be funny to hit someone with this and Yavimaya in a mono blue deck. Well, it'd be funny for you. Your opponents would probably be a little bit salty because, you're playing a green card and you're getting forests. It'd be funny for you, not so much for them. The Brothers War is a flavor home run of a saga. For 3 and a red, you get a saga with 3 chapters. The first chapter gives you 2 tapped Power Stone tokens, which will be useful later. The second chapter lets you choose 2 target players. Until your next turn, each creature they control attacks the other chosen player each combat if able. Pitting 2 players against each other is objectively funny and can, in a pinch, make it so the player with a ton of creatures doesn't come at you for a turn. The last chapter is the big finale. The Brothers War deals X damage to any target and X damage to any other target, where X is the number of artifacts you control. You can put 2 players against each other, have them get each other low, then hit them both with a bunch of damage. Like I said, this is a flavor home run, though being an enchantment in an artifact deck is a little bit awkward, but that's where the Power Stones are especially good. It gives us a couple artifacts in addition to the enchantment without, making the enchantment an artifact enchantment. Definitely give this one a look if you're playing a red artifact deck. Finally, a counter to Teferi's protection, Disciple of Caelus Nin is 4 and a white for a 3/4 human wizard with, when she enters the battlefield, you and all of your opponents choose up to 5 permanents you all control. All permanents other than Disciple of Caelus Nin that weren't chosen this way phase out. And that would be functionally useless, you know, they just come back in at the untap step, but she has one last line of text. Permanents can't phase in. She's sorta kind of a board wipe and an O-ring. It's kind of weird. If you have a way to blink the disciple, she gets especially good because it lets you reset the permanents that everyone has to choose. The main issue I have with her is how expensive she is. 5 mana is a lot for this sort of effect, and she could just get removed or run over by a big creature. I don't think she's bad necessarily, but you definitely want to play her in a blink strategy to get the maximum value out of her. Next up is Rootpath Purifier. One of the more well-known of the set booster commander cards because they're super cool and super simple. For 3 and a green, you get a 3/4 elf druid that simply says, lands you control and lands in your library are basic. That's a pretty basic ability, but what does it mean? Well, simply put, if you're searching your library for a basic land, that now becomes any land. And the implications here go way out of control. Coming Attraction can get you a Gaia's Cradle, Harvest Season goes crazy, and... Okay, y'all know I'm a little loony and I like doing crazy stuff, right? Early Harvest untaps all of your lands. All of them. For such a simple line of text, the implications just go on and on and on. This card is phenomenal. I wouldn't call it a staple or anything, and you probably want to have recursion or a land something to really grease the wheels, but this card can do some amazing stuff. Urza's Workshop is the forbidden secret laboratory that Urza hid from the world, which makes sense, every villain needs a secret lair after all. No offense, secret lair team. Anyway, Urza's Workshop is in Urza's land. It can tap for colorless, and if you have Metalcraft, which I mean, come on, if you're playing these, you've got to be playing artifacts, I'm pretty sure there's a law there. You can tap it to add mana equal to your Urza's lands. But Lucy, doesn't that mean I can only tap it for 4 at most? Well, my dear viewer, you'd be wrong. There's actually a total of 8 Urza's lands. Workshop, Power Plant, Mine, and Tower are the ones you may be familiar with, but there's also Saga, which is one you also should probably know, but not a lot of people know it has the Urza's type. Then there's Urza's Factory. This one, it's kind of poopy. It takes 7 mana and a tap to make a 2/2 artifact creature token, but it helps make more mana, so... There's 2 more, but y'all gotta promise not to tell the tryhards I'm suggesting these, okay? They're not exactly legal. They're Nearby Planet and Urza's Funhouse from the Unfinity set. Notice the acorns they have at the bottom, so they are super duper ooper not legal, unless your friends are cool. Nearby Planet needs you to pay 1 and tap it, or it gets sacrificed when it comes into play, but it has Rangeling. It's like Changeling, but for lands. And that means it has every single land type, all of them, including the Urza's type and the ones for Power Plant, Mine, and Tower. Urza's Funhouse taps for a colorless mana, or infinite colorless mana for 1 time, as long as you control all of the other Urza's land types, Power Plant, Mine, and Tower. Psst, which you have already with Nearby Planet. You didn't hear it from me though. If that's not enough, you can tap 7 and the Funhouse to go to askurza.com and click Urza's Funhouse. It's kinda crazy, but it basically gives you a random Planeswalker ability. Yes, that ranges from dinky +1s like you gain 3 life to you control target player during their next turn. I love Infinity. I may be contractually obligated to say that as a former employee of the Astratorium, but it's still true. Anyway, Workshop is good if you're playing those Urza lands. Next up is Titania, Nature's Force. I have seen more than a few treehuggers in my day, but this is ridiculous. Titania is 4 and 2 green for a 6/6 legendary elemental with 3 abilities that lead into each other. First, you may play Forest from your graveyard. Simple, easy, and kinda tells you where the rest of the card is going. Second, whenever a forest enters the battlefield under your control, create a 5/3 green elemental creature token. If you didn't know what she wanted you to do before, you know now. Play lands, get elementals, and fuel her third ability, which is, whenever an elemental you control dies, you may mill 3 cards. Titania is very simple, but she has a lot of different angles to build her. You can either build her around the elementals, around the landfall ability, around the milling effect. She's easy to understand, but very versatile. The Archimandrite is an odd card. For 2, a blue, a red, and a white, you get a 0/5 legendary human advisor with 3 strange abilities. First, at the beginning of your upkeep, you gain X life, where X is the number of cards in your hand -4. So we want to have a big hand, makes sense, blue likes doing that, white gains life, but why is this card red? There it is. Whenever you gain life, each advisor, artificer, and monk you control gains vigilance and +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained. It's weird to have a card that cares about 3 different creature types, but I guess that's kind of a way to get 3 typal commanders all wrapped up into one. Finally, you can tap 3 untapped advisors, artificers, and or monks you control to draw a card, which goes into fueling the first ability. While the Archimandrite is a bit more complicated than Titania, she's powerful in her own right, rewarding you for playing a go-wide creature strategy and can be built at a myriad of different power levels. If you like any of these creature types, give her a shot. And that's all of the set exclusive cards from both Dominaria United and Brothers of War. Have you built around any of these cards, or did they find a slot somewhere in your already well-established decks? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you want to help me out, take a look at another video of mine. This one here is on one of the best pre-con cards of the year if you're on a budget. As always, thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, au revoir!